Hello, good evening. We have mentioned last week in chapter 7 of Torah 29 that when the bloods uh, overtake, they spritz in great force to the brain that causes epilepsy. It's we're talking about a spiritual level. This Indian is alluding to the Shechina, the way the aspect of Gideon and the Shechina has uh, blood in them, and whiteness is not ejected into them, it presses the moichin, the mental faculties, and that causes all the parts of the Shechina to shake and tremble. The Shechina falls down, chas v'shalom. V'china sukas David anofeles. The falling sukkah of David, the Shechina is sukas David. Nofeles, it causes in the world, it manifests itself into occurrences of epilepsy, because Am Yisrael is Kenegas Firsa Malchus. When the Malchus falls, then it causes falling by Am Yisrael as well. But when Tikkun HaKlali is achieved, when the overall rectification is achieved, that pulls down whiteness to the Gidim. It says, B'chol es yu b'gadecha levonim, at all time, your garments should be white. So we said, B'chol et yu b'gadecha, gadecha b'gidecha. V'as nisapes, B'cholas hanefila, the Shechina is being healed from the illness of epilepsy. What about a spiritual epilepsy? It says, Nafla v'lo yisaisif kum b'sulas Yisrael. It fell, but the b'sulas Yisrael, which is the Shechina, fell, but it will not continue falling. Now it can stand up. As a dibur mutar, then talking is allowed. And we've explained that when the blood's there, when the judgment's there, then the dibur is also, it's forbidden. But when the moichin, when the mental faculties are proper, then talking is okay. The revelation of Torah mysteries is allowed. We're holding by Seif Ches. Zeh b'chinas v'af ki hayayin boiged. It says it says in Chavakuk, it says that af ki hayayin boged gever yoyer v'lo yinove asher rechiv kishol nafshoy v'hu chamavet v'lo yisbo yisol of kol goyim v'ikvatz alav kol omim. In Chavakuk it says this, and even though wine is treacherous, a vain man that has widened like purgatory, his nefesh, his cravings, and he's like death. He doesn't know any satiation. Regardless to him, all the goyim, and get all the nations to him. Rashi says, even though that Belshazzar, the grandson of this, of whom his wine, which is the son of Nebuchadnezzar, that drank in the chalice from Beis Hamikdash, and he was killed that night. The grandson Belshazzar, the grandson of that was betrayed by his wine, is good, and will get, he will drink wine. He's talking about a vain person that will not exist. And because he was vain, so much so as to use the vessels of Beis Hamikdash to drink, and it's going to cause him to be killed. And the ultimate Beis Hamikdash that his grandfather has destroyed, Zat Hashem, will be rebuilt, and it's like he's like a person. He's like death. That the same way that death can never be satiated, Malach HaMavis, the purgatory can never be satisfied. It takes more and more people the same way as a person has a taiva for ruling and for ruling, collecting properties and money, and at the end, it's mida connected mida, the same way that there's no end to his appetite as far as taivas go. He'll fall into sholtachtius, that also there's no end to its appetite. After yain boiged, boiged is a similar word to gidin, to the veins. Chinas gidin, when the gidin are being damaged through the dam, then hoylech rochel megalasod, a gossip monger goes around and reveals the secrets. B'chinas nichnas yain, yotzasoid, wine comes in, and the secret comes out. The person drinks wine, gets inebriated, and any secrets that he might hold, come out. They're being spilled. The yain is an aspect of gidin, an overcoming of the domim of the bloods, because wine is red, altiranki sodom. The classic wine is the red. It's pinas dom. And why is it altira yain kis odom? In Mishlei it says, don't look at wine, for it will become red. What does it mean? Chazal said, Shacharisoi dam. Ultimately, people who drink without control, ultimately it comes to bloodshed. What the Gemara says is the yain is an aspect of dam. The nichnas yain, when there is an overcoming of domim, of blood, of gamma bris, yoitzasot, then the dibor is forbidden. And anybody who speaks as megalasod is revealing a secret. This is af ki hayayin boiged. Even though the wine is boiged, is treacherous, and through the bechina of yain, wine, which means the rise of the dinim, of the judgments of the gamma bris, then the bchinas boiged gidim is it gets defected. That's why Al Shem said the wine is called tiroish. Chazal said, what is tiroish? It says zocho, if a person drinks, moderately, nasaroish, it expands the mind. Lo zocho, if a person overdrinks, nasarash, it becomes poor. When a person is not zoche, that he does not purify the domim, there's a nasarash, he becomes impoverished. He doesn't have bread that comes from the shamayim. Parnosa comes very heavily, very laboriously. But when a person is misaka tika nakloni, nasaroish becomes the top. Mental faculties. That's the drawing of the whiteness from the moichin. Noislin mean levonin, as we said. So after we've explained these two bechinas of Tikkun HaMalchus, one bechina is Tikkun HaDibur, it's the Malchus. The Shevach HaTzadikim, when you praise the Tzadikim, the mind gets elevated. And the second bechina is the rectification of the sins that cause dam nida to the Shechina, to the Malchus. So particular bris, it elevates the mind, and B'ezrat Hashem, we will continue about this in the third bechina of Tikkun HaMalchus, which is Masa Matan Be'emunah. The main principle that needs to be understood is that rectification and tikkun hashalom always comes from a higher level than where a person is. A person cannot fix himself, a person cannot fix himself in the level where he is. It's a very, very deep concept Reb Nosson speaks about. Just saw it last night in Hilchas Bosor V'Cholov, Lucha Daled, that he explains that the inyan of Bosor, flesh, the behema is on a lower madrega. The behema cannot have a tikkun except through shechita, and then it can be consumed by people, and then the behema, with the bracha, then the behema has a tikkun. Ultimately, people are also like that. It means that people do not have a tikkun, the ultimate tikkun, through their lifetime. The tikkun comes afterwards. This is due to the chet, the sin of Adam Arishon, that because of him, death has been decreed on the world. So, and the thing is that we need to understand that after 120 years, leaving this world is a very good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a bad thing in the sense that as long as you live, you can add on kedusha, because every morsel of kedusha that a person adds during his lifetime is supremely precious and irreplaceable. Because once a person leaves this world, he cannot, it doesn't matter how great he was, he cannot do even the smallest thing, and the smallest mitzvah, is in Olam Esolyonim is priceless. It's peerless. So this mechina, that's why the sanctity of life is so important. The person needs to live long and longer and longer. The longer the person lives, even if he's not zoicha, to be masakin and to live the way the great tzaddikim did, the big El Chayidin did. Nevertheless, just being a Jew, existing in this world, is a tremendous tikkun. A tremendous tikkun. There's a ma'aser, with the Chorina of he was the Rav in Chirin was the grandson of Rabban Derov of Breslov, that Rabbeinu brought to Breslov. He was his grandson. And he was going oilam. He was a huge, huge person, huge going. He wrote, Otzer Ayira, which is a summary of the entire Likutey Halachos. It's in order and fashion after subjects of eating and Yom Tovim and Shabbos and the entire Likutey Halachos. It's unbelievable. And he also wrote a sefer. It's called I think Ma'aseh Hasidim and Sefer Hasidim, or Derech Hasidim. I'm not sure what is the name of these two svarim. One of them is a synopsis of all the Torah of the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov. Also, indexed according to subjects, Achila, Emes, and Shabbos, and all the Talmidim. And then he has Derech Hasidim, I think. The second one, it takes the Torah of all the Talmidei Magid. And again, summarizes all the Torahs according to subjects. I mean, you're talking about a mind that, has basically no limitation. Going olam. He didn't want to be a Rav in Turin. But the people of Turin wanted him to be a Rav. He didn't want. He sat in a room and he studied, he learned. So at the end, I think they went to Reb Nosson. I'm not sure. They went to Reb Nosson and asked Reb Nosson to talk to him, so he should accept upon himself the job of being the Rav of Turin. And he claimed that he has no time for this. He has to learn. He has no time, to mess about with people coming to Shilas and this and that. It's not for him. So I think Reb Nosson is the one that told him. He was very, very young. So Reb Nosson told him, listen, put another person who will paskin all the halachas of the town. And if they have something, they don't know what to paskin, they'll come to you. And if you know, you tell them. What do you care? So for this, he was masking. This, he agreed. And that's the way it was. He sat in a room, day and night, did not move, sat and learned. Anybody that came to speak to him, said 1, 2, 3 sentences, and if the person was, seeing, was pulling the time, he wasn't fast enough, after a minute or two, whatever it is, I will give him his hand. Shalom Aleichem, focus into it. Go ahead. Move on. The only time that he actually spent a great deal of time was when there was a bocher in town that started reading the literature of the Maskilim, of the Enlightenment, and he was becoming an epicurus. Then, and he would get this, this monthly, whatever it is, from them, was subscription. And Shalom sat with him and spoke to him and asked him to bring him whenever he comes, every month when he comes, when he gets the subscription, whatever it is of this maskilim, should come to him, bring it to him, and look at it together. This boy was very proud, the Mara de Asra that doesn't have time for anybody speaks to me, and we speak, scholar, philosophy, whatever it is. And he kept on going and kept on going with him until one day he told him, So what do you think about this? So, about whatever it is, this kind of overriding subjects, their thesis, this whatever. Well, that boy said whatever he said. Nachum Fitzgerald sat with him and proved everything that he showed him throughout these months with this literature, how every single point was wrong until he made him into Baal Tshuva. And when he was a Baal Tshuva, it was okay. It wasn't a tzaddik, but it was okay. On this, he spent time. Other than that, he didn't have time for anything. And towards the end of his life, the Shriner Rov Malenu was paralyzed. He was paralyzed. He was basically lying in bed for a long time and could not move, could not do anything. And they hired, you know, I'm sure he wasn't a Filipino, but something like an aide to take care of him. And that person was a very rough person, and they treated him roughly. And the Chorinarov told him, I became cheap by you. I became, because of the paralysis, So the paralysis doesn't mean you're not treating a Kodesh Elyon. There's the Tzavod, the last will and testament of the Chorinarov is a document that just to read it is astonishing and earth shaking. To the Chorinarov, he was suffering great yisurim, and he could hardly talk. Obviously, he couldn't learn, he couldn't daven, he couldn't do anything. So he told the Hasidim, he says, you think that maybe because of his infirmity and his invalidity, that maybe it should be better, that Chas v'Chalila should pass away. He told him, no, you should daven for me. He said, daven for me because every single breath that a Jew takes in this world is a precious treasure. It's a precious treasure. You have to take care of your health. You have to make sure that, but ultimately, after 120 years, the tikkun comes from Olam Haba. The same way the tikkun of a behema is when a behema cannot fix itself. I mean, behema has to die, but if it dies without being shechted, there's no tikkun to it. The tikkun has to be that it's shechted, and then a person, a Jew that is a madrega above it, consumes it, the kashrus, and then the behema has a tikkun. Same thing, 120 years, a person passes away, he gets a tikkun, that is awaiting la'osid lovoi. And the main nakuda that a person needs to keep in mind is that the main thing that a person needs to do in this world is to achieve a tikkun haklali. Tikkun haklali is achieved by coming close to the tzaddik emes. This is shevach hatzaddikim. The tzaddik emes, Pchinas Moshe, Pchinas Mashiach, there's no klipas there. There's no tumah there. It's kulo tikkun. It's kuloi Pchinas whiteness, alav elyon. And when a person, is connected to the tzaddik emes, even though, I am far away from the way I'm supposed to be, but when I'm connected to the tzaddik, I get in a pchina of tikkun haklali, in such a way that the tikkun lo'il hazeh, lo'il habo, and not lo'il habo, but also there was a Mashiach and Tchias HaMesim, and the great judgment, great day of judgment. It's a tikkun for everything. Because if a person is not connected to the tzaddik, is not connected to tikkun haklali, He's not getting the whiteness. He doesn't get the tikkun that he needs into all the gidim, into all the blood vessels, the spiritual blood vessels. In other words, there's still inyonim of a person lives, and then after 120 years, a person leaves this world, and he hasn't achieved what he needs to achieve. And that's a very, very bitter thing. Because then he has to go through whatever he has to go through in Olam Habo, and maybe have to come again and reincarnate again in this world, and go through whatever it is that he needs to go through. The main thing, the main nekuda is focuses in of the tikkun adibur, the tikkun amoichin, the rectification of the mind, of the brain, with clean machshavas. And the main thing is connecting yourself to the tzaddik emes. When you're connected to tzaddik emes with his koyach, everybody has tikkun. Everybody can have tikkun. It doesn't matter how low he is, doesn't matter how far he is. And when you imagine yourself, I mean, look at this. All these people are so much greater than I am. They can learn so much than me. They can do, they do, and it's all true. It's all true. But when you're connected to the tzaddik amiti, when you're connected to the true tzaddik, no matter how low I might be, we get all the tikkunim. We get all the tikkunim that we need. Because the tzaddik, the Kodesh Baruch Hu gave the tzaddik, all the tikkunim of all the neshamas. The tzaddik is the one that gave the Kodesh Baruch Hu the guarantee that he will fix the world. He will fix all the neshamas. This is the meaning of tikkun hakloli. Tikkun hakloli is the tzaddik. Tikkun hadibur is the tzaddik. A person needs to have a serious nefesh, tremendous serious nefesh. He says, "En Torah miskayemes." The Torah does not subsist elo misha memis atzma alea, unless a person kills himself over it. He says, "Odom ki yomus ba'oel," a person who will die in the tent. In order for a person to come close to tzaddik emes, he has to kivyochel sacrifice himself, to come into the oil, into the tent of Moshe, of the tzaddik emes, and to get a tikkun. That's the main inyan. That's the main inyan, and everything else in this world doesn't mean a thing. You learn Torah, you daven, you come when you're close to the tzaddik emes, you get all the tikkunim. That is the main thing. And if not, chas v'chalila, there's epilepsy. The pchina of all the averim are shaking. Nothing is close together. There's no tikkun to anything. There's a tikkun here, there's a mitzvah here, Baruch Hashem, there's a dibur Torah here, there's a ma'aseh mitzvahs here, Baruch Hashem, but the whole thing does not tie together. All this comes with tikkun hakloli when you're connected to the origin of everything. Then we have a tikkun. Then a dibur is mutter. And when a person speaks to Shevach HaTzadikim, the praises of the tzaddikim elevates the moyach. It elevates, just if he's speaking about them already elevates the moyach. Because when a person speaks of the tzaddik, he brings the tzaddik to him right then and there. That's why they say a person shouldn't say the names of angels. Because when a person utters the name of an angel, it brings the angel to him. Then the angel says, "Yeah, what do you want?" If the angel finds out that the person just uttered his name in vain, there are consequences to it. Obviously, kal v'chomer ben bno shel kal v'chomer, when a person mentions the name of Kodesh Baruch Hu, without need, God's justification. Ad kedi kach, that even bracha she'ina tzricha, an unnecessary bracha, is also gewaltig gam. Well, because immediately the Shekhinah comes there, and if there's no need, there's no vessel to contain it. It causes, immense damage. But when you're Meshabeach, and when you mention the tzaddikim, and you praise them, it immediately brings the tzaddik to you. It immediately lifts your moichin. It immediately injects whiteness into your moichin. It mimela injecting whiteness into every sinew, every corner of your being. And you get a tikkun for everything, no matter how you are and where you are. That's why Shevach HaTzadikim is such a great thing. And of course, the dibur, speak, properly speak, divrei Torah, speak the way needs to be. This is the tikkun adibur to Shevach HaTzadikim, and tikkun abris that are both elevating the mental faculties and bring whiteness to our existence. Bezat Hashem, we will finish here, and Bezat Hashem, tomorrow night we will learn in the Breslev Medrash. And I actually am thinking perhaps either this year or the one on Thursday, we will start learning Likutey Halachos. So we'll have one shir Likutey Moharan, one Likutey Halachos. So, will be more of a variety.